Hello and welcome to another complete Edexcel GCSE PE lesson, where you'll learn absolutely everything you need to know on the principles of training. Before we begin, a quick reminder that Edexcel GCSE PE, the complete course, which includes a dedicated section on component 4, the personal exercise program, is now available to download. Link below. So the principles of training are a set of guidelines that an individual must follow if they want the best results from their training. The first is individual needs, which means that a personal exercise program should be planned around the individual and their current level of fitness. Following the program of a much fitter athlete would likely result in overtraining and injury, as well as demotivation and dropout. Specificity means that training should match the requirements of the sport or specific role being prepared for. For example, a marathon runner should use more endurance training since their sport is predominantly aerobic in nature. A high jumper might use plyometric training as their event relies on power, and a cyclist could use weight training to develop the muscular endurance in their quadriceps. Similarly, a winger in football might structure their training around speed and power, while a goalkeeper who relies on different attributes or components of fitness might focus on hand-eye coordination and agility. Overload refers to the need to push the body so that it's forced to adapt to the new demands. Progressive overload means gradually increasing the amount of overload to improve fitness but without injury. In other words, continually pushing the body just enough to promote development, but not so much that it's unable to recover. This can be achieved by applying the FITT principle, which stands for frequency, intensity, time, and type. Frequency refers to how often you train. Progressive overload can be achieved by increasing the frequency of training. For example, progressing from 2 to 3 continuous training sessions per week. Intensity refers to the level of physical demand. Progressive overload can be achieved by gradually working harder over time. For example, working at a higher percentage of your maximum heart rate, increasing resistance or reps, or reducing rest periods between sets. Time refers to how long training sessions last for. Progressive overload can be achieved by gradually increasing duration over the course of a training program, for example by adding an extra 10 minutes to each circuit training session. Finally, type, which links to the principle of specificity, refers to the method of training used. This needs to match the fitness requirements of the sport. For example, a sprinter might use interval training to develop anaerobic fitness and speed, while a long-distance cyclist would benefit more from aerobic training methods. Overtraining means training beyond the body's ability to recover. Adequate rest and recovery time is essential as it allows the body to adapt and repair itself between training sessions. By not resting enough or training too hard or for too long, the body may start to deteriorate, which can result in a reduction in performance, illness, injury, and consequently the need to stop training altogether. Reversibility means gradually losing fitness instead of progressing or remaining at the current level. In other words, training effects are reversible and fitness benefits will be lost if training intensity falls or breaks from training are taken. For example, a football player who's unable to train due to injury will experience atrophy or a reduction in muscle mass. The final principle is thresholds of training, which refers to the need for training to be undertaken at an appropriate intensity. It suggests that a performer should work within their target zone, between upper and lower training thresholds. The lower threshold is the minimum intensity required to improve fitness, and the upper threshold is the maximum recommended intensity. Working beyond the upper threshold could lead to overtraining. For improvements in endurance or cardiovascular fitness, athletes need to work within their aerobic target zone. This means they need to maintain a heart rate of somewhere between 60 and 80% of their maximum heart rate for at least 20 minutes. For improvements in anaerobic fitness, the intensity needs to be higher. The anaerobic target zone is between 80 and 90% of maximum heart rate. To calculate training thresholds, start by working out your maximum heart rate using the simplified Karvonen formula, which is 220 minus your age. The example given here is for a 16-year-old. Their maximum heart rate is 220 minus 16, which is 204 beats per minute. To calculate their aerobic training zone, multiply maximum heart rate by 0.6 to get the lower threshold and by 0.8 to get the upper threshold. To calculate their anaerobic training zone, multiply maximum heart rate by 0.8 to get the lower threshold and by 0.9 to get the upper threshold. So, to improve their aerobic fitness, a 16-year-old should attempt to maintain their heart rate for at least 20 minutes between 122 and 163 beats per minute, and to improve their anaerobic fitness, they should keep their heart rate between 163 and 184 beats per minute. Now, if relatively untrained, you might begin your program at the lower end of your target zone, and then, in accordance with the principle of progressive overload, gradually increase your target heart rate over time. For example, from 60% to 65% to 70, etc. Well done, you've just covered absolutely everything you need to know on the principles of training. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you next time for everything you need to know on the methods of training.